Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes,
Okay, I'm letting people in. Ooh, now we have 5 people coming in.
it's 4 o'clock now.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Morgan Pierce, and I am the CEO of SolarSmart. And today I'm going to be talking about how to make a profit by going solar. So, this webinar is going to take between 20 and 25 minutes. We try to make it quick. The first part of the webinar is to just talk about how solar energy works and to answer some of the most frequently asked questions that we receive when we're out talking to people about solar. And then the second part is going to be looking at the financial side of going solar and how even if you don't have the down payment, if you will, in your bank account, you can still avail of financing. And for the most part, if the solar system is designed correctly for your consumption and your electricity usage, that you should be able to actually spend less on a financing package than you would save on electricity on a monthly basis. So I will kick in. We are recording this webinar and we will share a link to the recording once the webinar is over, and we will be available at the end to answer any questions that anybody has. So now it would be helpful if I could get the slides to move forward. Um, okay, so some people aren't really completely aware of how electricity is actually generated. Here in Ireland, we are still burning gas to create electricity for our grid. I don't believe that we're in a place any longer where we are burning coal, but we are importing energy from the UK and our grid today. I pulled this slide a couple of hours ago from the Air Grid website, and we have a renewable load on our grid here in Ireland of about 26%, which is actually pretty reasonable given winter. There's not that much sun shining, at least not where I am, but I guess there's a bit of wind blowing. So we have about a quarter of our electricity today coming from renewable energy. And I'm pretty sure everybody is aware that Ireland is on a trajectory to try to bring, I think it's 40% of the electricity on the grid by 2030 to come from renewables. So we're definitely making progress towards meeting that goal. So what is the grid? The grid is an interconnected network of substations, power stations, transmission lines that is designed to allow the electricity that's created either in a power station or in or by a wind farm or a solar farm to actually be delivered through an interconnected network of lines into your home. And your home is connected to the grid via your meter. So the power comes from the grid into your meter, and then your fuse board is fed by your meter as your home needs it. And we call that the base load of your home. And a watt, lots of people ask us what a watt and a kilowatt hour are. So a watt is a unit. It's the unit defined as a quantity of power. It was defined by a Scottish guy, I think a couple of hundred years ago, James Watt. And a kilowatt is equal to 1,000 watts. And um, Sorry, people are still entering the webinar, so I'm getting a little distracted. Sorry about that. A kilowatt hour is, sorry, ah, a kilowatt hour is 1,000 watts. And just to give you an idea of what a 1,000 watts is, I think everybody in Ireland has a kettle or a Hoover, and a kettle will burn 3,000 watts or 3 kilowatts in 1 hour. So if you were to turn on your kettle and run it for a solid hour, which is very hard to do because it usually heats up water in a whole lot less time, you would be burning 3,000 watts or 3 kilowatts of electricity. And a Hoover, I think the normal sort of domestic Hoover that's on the market pulls about 2,000 watts an hour or 2 kilowatt hours. And on your electricity bill, you are purchasing electricity in a unit of electricity or a kilowatt hour. So 1,000 watts of electricity is what you might see. On this particular board gas bill that I have in front of me, the electricity is being quoted in kilowatt hours, but some suppliers will call it a unit. And on your electricity bill, you should be able to see roughly how much electricity you're using in a year. The average residential customer here in Ireland burns about 4,200 kilowatt hours a year. And you can compare what your home is using in terms of electricity compared to what the national average is. There's a standing charge on your bill, which is the cost of your home or your meter being attached to the grid. And there isn't anything, unfortunately, that solar will be able to do about that. Where we make an impact is actually in terms of you being able to make your own kilowatt hours or your own units of electricity on your roof. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that happens. Most plans in the market in Ireland for the first 12 months offer a discount, and we would always encourage our customers to change electricity suppliers. Or if you don't want to change, you can call your existing electricity supplier and ask them for a reduced rate on your sort of yearly anniversary to make sure that you continue to avail of the discounts that are available in the marketplace. I just renewed my electricity a couple of weeks ago, and actually, I have the document here. With flow gas, I am getting about 24 cents a kilowatt hour and about 12 cents a kilowatt hour for a nighttime electricity plan. So they're all fairly competitive. That's roughly what the going rate is now in the Irish market. So solar energy is really, really interesting because the sun produces enough energy in 1 minute to actually supply the entire world's electrical needs for 12 months. We just aren't in a position yet where we can harness all of that. And solar PV is one of the cleanest and most impactful ways of actually being able to take advantage of that electricity and energy that the sun is providing to us literally wherever it's sunny across the globe. So we get asked all the time, does solar really work in Ireland? And you have a map on the right-hand side of your screen, which shows you the irradiation, which is a term used in the industry for how much solar can be produced. And Ireland is in a really interesting position because our summer days are really, really long. And so we get, 16 solid hours of daylight, and solar panels make energy from daylight, not necessarily from sunlight. But the other reason why Ireland is ideal for solar energy is because solar panels are actually more effective at making electricity at 25 degrees Celsius or less. So once the temperature goes above 25 degrees Celsius, the panels are less effective at making electricity. So Ireland actually has this lovely little sweet spot of temperate climate with very long days. And so from March until the end of September or the middle of October, we actually benefit from quite a bit of solar irradiation or the ability to make to produce energy from sunlight using solar photovoltaic technology. So how does, sorry, I'm just going to go back. How does solar energy work? The solar panels, I'm going to go through this twice. The solar panels go on your roof. There's another device called an inverter, which turns your DC produced by the panels into AC, which is consumed by your home. You can also use a hot water diverter to harness extra electricity being made by the solar panels to heat your water. If your if you have an EV and it's plugged into the charger, you can use solar energy from the panels to charge your electric vehicle. And you can also store extra electricity made by the solar panels in a battery system so that you can use that energy at night. The other reason why a battery is very beneficial is in wintertime when the panels are not as effective as they are in the summer, you can charge your battery on inexpensive nighttime electricity and use that power to help power your home the following day. So the battery has sort of a dual function, and particularly if you have a high electricity usage, like if you have a heat pump, you'll find that the battery makes a lot of financial sense. So just taking it step by step, people ask us all the time whether the solar panels are going to stay on the roof during a windy storm. And the answer to that is that we actually remove the slates from the roof and the brackets that hold the solar panel system and attach it to your home are actually screwed into the rafters inside your attic. And so we pull the tiles away, we install the brackets, a piece of rubber flashing goes on top of the bracket, and then the tiles go back on the roof. And that mounting system is secure, not because it's attached to your tiles or your slates, but because it's actually attached to the rafters inside your attic. And then the rails that hold the panels in place go on top of the brackets. The panels go on top of the rails, and then clamps are used to hold the whole thing together. We clamp the system at the end with a device called an end cap, and that holds the solar system in place on your roof. We then install the inverter, and this is the device that changes the DC electricity made by the panels, high voltage DC electricity, into AC. And AC is what your fuse board uses and all of the appliances in your home. If you have, sorry, the inverter then feeds the fuse board with whatever AC electricity your fuse board is pulling. If you have a battery, any extra that your house is not using can go and be stored in your battery. And so if you do have a battery and your house is pulling, let's say your solar system is making 5 kilowatts of electricity, and your house only needs 3, then the other 2 will go and be stored in your battery at the same time that the inverter is powering your fuse board. You can also heat hot water using extra electricity using a device called an eddy or a hot water diverter, or you can put the extra electricity that's being made by the inverter into your electric vehicle. And finally, if you don't have any of those, or if your battery is full and your water is hot and your car is charged, then whatever electricity you are not using will spill out to the grid. And currently, I believe that most of the electricity suppliers have a going rate of about 18.5 cents a kilowatt hour for anything that is spilling to the grid. So we also get asked often enough whether or not a south-facing roof is the best for making solar. And the answer is yes. A south-facing roof will produce more electricity, but it will produce it in the middle of the day. So you'll get less production in the morning because the panels are facing south and the sun is coming up in the east. But by about, sort of 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, your panels will be being hit directly by sunlight. And then maybe by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're still getting the benefit of being directly hit by sunlight. But by the afternoon time, they're no longer being hit directly by sunlight. And so the production will go down. And so often we are designing solar systems for homeowners that have an east-west aspect, and while the solar system won't produce as much as a south-facing solar system that's exactly the same size, what you will benefit from with an east-west facing roof is earlier production in the morning and later production in the afternoon and evening time. So we call this a flatter production curve. And what that means is you'll be able to use more of the electricity that you produce for yourself, and you will spill less to the grid. Now, if you do have a south-facing aspect, we do recommend that you have a battery because the bulk of your electricity is going to come in the middle of the day. And unless you're home running all of your appliances and you've got your electric vehicle plugged in or a battery, then you will be spilling a lot of what you're making to the grid off of a south-facing aspect, whereas with an east-west facing aspect, as I said, it doesn't produce as much, but you'll be able to cover more of your electricity usage from solar than if you have a south-facing roof. So this just gives you an idea of a similarly sized 10-panel system. If it's south-facing, it will produce about 4,000 kilowatt hours annually here in Ireland. And on average, it'll save you about 1,300 euros a year. And if you have an east-west facing roof, it's not going to produce as much electricity, but you're still going to save about 1,000 euros a year because you will be using more of the electricity that you're actually producing for yourself. I just want to make sure I didn't skip anything. Yeah, okay. So now we're going to talk about financing for a solar system. And what we have found is we have a partner in Finance Ireland, and they offer a financial package to homeowners for financing a solar system. Not everybody has 10 or 11 or 12,000 euros in the bank to be able to afford solar, but we're trying to encourage everybody to look at it as a different type of an opportunity. So what we've got here is 4 different sort of financial examples that help illustrate how financing can work really, really well. So this is an actual home. We've configured this home with an 8-panel, 3.5 kilowatt system. The annual electricity usage of this homeowner was 4,700 kilowatt hours a year, so just slightly above the annual average. And the electricity tariff when the customer bought this solar system was at 33 cents a kilowatt hour. The cost of the solar system would be about 7,780 euros net of the SEAI solar grant. And we anticipate that over the course of this system, the course of 20 years for this system, we estimate that the homeowner is going to be saving 83 euros a month on their electricity bill. And if they were to get a 10-year finance option through Finance Ireland, it would actually only cost 71 euros a month to put this system on the roof. And this is a real example. And so this homeowner is saving 12 euros a month every month, even though they went for 100% financing for their solar system. So we made the same house a little bit bigger. This is not the option that the homeowner went for, but we costed it out so that we could show them what the difference would be. And this is the same roof, same 4,700 kilowatt hours a year, but in this case, we've configured a 6.6 kilowatt system, 15 panels with a battery and a hot water diverter. And the 10-year finance option would run the homeowner about 117 euro a month, and we estimate that they would be able to save about 123 euro a month. So a difference of about 6 euros. Now, what I want to point out here with this particular option is we can't quantify how much money a homeowner is saving when they actually heat water from solar rather than heating it from gas or oil, because we don't know how much water every homeowner uses. Or in this case, this particular homeowner uses, but we also don't know whether they're using oil or gas or how much hot water they're heating throughout the summer. So, on top of the savings that you're looking at on this screen, there is an additional savings in either gas or oil because this homeowner is actually using electricity from April to September to heat their water. And so they're shutting off their gas or they're not using their oil, and whatever they would normally have spent in the summertime for gas or oil is also additional savings over and above the savings that you see here. Okay, another example on an east-west roof. So this is not the real example. The next slide is going to be the actual example from the homeowner, but this is a home that has an A2 rating, air to water heat pump, and they're using about 8,000 kilowatt hours a year. When we ran the finances for them, they were paying 37 euro a kilowatt hour, and a 10 panel 4.4 kilowatt system would have cost them about 69 euros in financing, and it would save them about 100 euros a month because their electricity bill is much higher. So this solar system is going to produce, they're going to be able to use more of what this 10 panel system is going to be able to use than somebody that has a lower consumption pattern. And then this is the system that the homeowner decided to go for, which is a 16 panel system with a battery. Again, they have a air to water heat pump, which is running pretty much 24/7, 365 to keep their home at the temperature that they want it. And it also heats their water. So they are paying 114 euros a month for their 10-year finance option, and they're saving 163 euros a month on their electricity bill. So some pretty substantial savings can come from solar, and that's over and above, again, what they would be. I mean, this homeowner is using the air to water heat pump to heat their water. So that's their whole bill is an electricity based bill. They don't have fossil fuels that they're burning in their home. Other things to think about when you're thinking about going solar, your BER will likely improve about 2 rungs. And so if you have a C1 rating on your home currently, you could potentially get to a B2 or possibly even a B1 on your BER. And a BER improvement does improve the value of your home. It also potentially can reduce your mortgage rate because I know Bank of Ireland and AIB both offer a more attractive interest rate for homes that are B2 rated or better. And as I said before, we can't quantify how much you would be saving if you did go with a hot water diverter to heat your water, because we don't know how much you're spending on gas or oil in the summertime, but that bill effectively would be gone if you were using a hot water diverter to use extra electricity during the summer months to heat your water. We have a little video here, customer testimonial.
I was looking to go solar for a little while, but I knew it was a significant upfront investment. But given the fact that the electricity prices continue to rise, it seemed like the smart thing to do, to try and mitigate that over time. And also, as a byproduct, you do actually get a lift to your DER rating, which is obviously a value to the house if you choose to sell it.
I've been watching for quite a while, neighbors, other friends and family putting in solar panels and hearing the great stories. And I wanted to be sustainable. It was an overall ambition of mine was to be more sustainable. I now recycle, I'm really good on my recycling, on my not taking the car as much as I should do. So I want to be a better person. And this is part of that journey. And the other point that's really important for me was that I'm now approaching retirement age in the not too distant future. And I really wanted to reduce my cost of living because I can afford to pay bills, expensive bills now when I'm working. But when I retire, it's going to be a whole different ballpark. So this was an investment in my future, if you like, to not have to worry about expensive electricity bills going forward.
So 50% of it was economical, 50% of it was ecological. I have a pretty energy efficient home. It's an A-rated home, but we also use an air to water pump, so our energy bills are pretty high. I work from home, so it means that I use a lot of electricity during the day. So I wanted to make a big dent in monthly expenses and flatten the curve, but then also to responsibly play our part for the economy or for the climate and environment, and make sure that we're contributing back to the grid.
I basically had turned my gas heating off completely. I use the gas for hot water, but I was able to get all the hot water I needed during the summer months. And as it's moved into the winter months, I'm still getting a significant benefit. My gas bill is coming around about half of my electricity bill is coming around about half of what I was expecting to pay if I look on year on year. I guess the winter hasn't fully kicked in yet, but it looks like a good start, and we'll see how it progresses over the next 4 or 5 months.
Everything was explained to me. You guys even did the grant application for me. Hallelujah. That's such a headache. That was an added bonus. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, I have solar now. I'm very happy. My bills are minuscule by comparison. But the job the lads did, they were very, very good. The salesperson was excellent, explained everything that was going to happen. And the actual installation, I mean, it was perfect. They were so good. I really appreciated that.
And I would invite everybody on the webinar to visit our Trustpilot page because we have really some excellent, reviews. Last page, and then I can open it up for questions. The SEAI domestic grant, solar PV grant, is worth 1,800 euros, and that covers about 9 panels. Which is the sort of perfectly sized system for the average Irish home. And we actually subtract the grant amount from your invoice so that you aren't out of pocket waiting for the grant refund. We wait for the grant refund on your behalf and take it off of your bill. And finally, we offer a free, no obligation. We're not a hard sell company. We're more about educating the consumer on what the benefits of solar are and how much money you can save by going solar, rather than, trying to hammer home that we want to get a deal. But I would encourage you to definitely get a free, no obligation quote from one of our solar advisors. We have 10 solar advisors that cover all of Ireland, and they're just super helpful and super knowledgeable. So I'm Morgan. I'm the founder and CEO of SolarSmart. We are 5 years old, and you've got my contact details there if you want to send me an email or ask any additional questions. And I'm also able to take any questions if anybody has anything that they want to ask while we're on the call.
There's a question in the chat.
Can you read it?
It's, will there be a time when the solar panels will become smaller in size and therefore more can be installed on your roof closer to the roof edge line?
Okay, good question. So The short answer is no, because solar panels are actually getting bigger. So when we first started installing solar systems in 2020, a solar panel was about 1.4 meters tall and 90 centimeters or 900 millimeters wide. And now the panels that are available, the smallest panel that we can actually get here in Ireland is 1.762 meters tall, so 300 or 30 centimeters taller, and they're also 1100 millimeters wide now versus the 900 that they used to be. So unfortunately, the technology is kind of heading in a different direction than panels getting smaller. The other restriction that we have besides the size, the physical size of the panel, is that SEAI and building regulations require us to stay 50 centimeters from the bottom of the roof and any edges of the roof, and 20 centimeters from the top and any obstructions in the roof. So velluxes, windows, chimneys, things like that. So we've got to stay 20 centimeters away from anything that's obstructing the roof and 50 centimeters away from the whole edge. And I can't see the building regs changing on that. They've been pretty much the same since we got started installing panels. What will come into the Irish market, and I don't think that we're that far off, we're probably 2 years away, and you start to see, I think I've seen one or two installations in the last year, is that roof tiles, so whole tiles are coming. You can see these if you travel to Germany or to the Netherlands, where the lots more people have solar energy. You start to see full roofs that are made of solar panels because they're starting to replace the tiles. So if you have a difficult roof from a sizing perspective, you may consider waiting a couple of years for when you will be able to actually replace the roof with solar roof tiles. And then, of course, there are other options. And we should maybe even show a couple of examples the next time we do this webinar. But we've done a really nice pergola that's out in somebody's garden, which has a solar system on top. We've done carports. So people pulling into a solar system and their car is protected and the solar system is on the side of the house. So there are other options than just rooftop solar, but they do add an additional expense. If you want to keep the expense down in the sort of 8, 9, 10, 11,000 euro range, depending on the size of your roof and the size of the system that you're looking to get, ground mount or a carport is not going to actually fit into that budget.
Another question there in the chat. What is the tax implication of selling back surplus to the grid?
Good question. So there is a 400 euro limit before you have to report to the revenue that what you're selling to the grid is actually taxable. But the way it works is that the electricity supply company gives you a credit against whatever you're selling to the grid. And here in Ireland, it works really, really well. And I'll tell you why. Because most of the surplus electricity that you're going to be spilling to the grid is going to happen in the summer. So April, May, June, July, August, September. And you're going to more than likely, almost every single solar system that we install spills extra electricity to the grid because we have these really long days, and it's just an ideal climate in the summertime for solar production. So from April to September, you're going to create this credit on your electricity bill. But then as you go into the winter months, late October, November, December, January, February, the solar system is not going to work as efficiently. It's not going to work even close to what it does in the summer. But that's when the rest of your electricity bill will absorb the credit that you've created during during the summer months. So it's very unusual that unless you way oversize the system for your usage, that you would ever generate enough of a credit to have to report the 400 euro plus benefit to revenue. Did I answer that okay, Una?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Great. I want to thank everybody for your time. I know it's the afternoon on a Monday in winter. So thank you for listening and thank you for joining us for our webinar. And please give us a call or email us at sales@solarsmart.ie if you are interested in getting a free no obligation quote from one of our solar advisors. Bye.
Thank you.